think about. We often just think of our contact forms as, oh, well, we'll just get them to fill in the form and we'll get the email. What happens if you don't? What happens if something fails? What happens if the mail service decide to glitch on the way through and you don't get a copy of that email? What's the impact of that on you? And is it worthwhile?
Welcome to Rise and Shine, your daily business tech boost with me, Charly Latham. If you're a small business owner looking to simplify technology and get real, actionable advice from someone with 35 years of IT experience, you're in the right place. Every episode, I'll dive into tools and systems like email, CRM, marketing and tracking, and I'll break them down into bite-sized tips you can use straight away. Your time is valuable, so let's get straight to the point. It's time to work smarter, not harder.
Rise and Shine, it's your dose of business tech inspiration with me, Charly Latham. Episode number 735. Yes, I think we're at 735. I'm a bit out of it. I've got a lot going on. Today is a mindset episode. It's Mindset Monday. I want to talk about form submissions and whether you're saving your entries off into your database or whether you are just using the hope and pray method that when someone submits a form, the email notification actually lands where it needs to land and you see it. This is inspired by a couple of experiences that I have had recently. So, and that's the best type of episodes, is I get these experiences and I have to go fix them. I have to go through some of the stress associated with it. And this ends up being a mindset episode and not a how-to and not a Firewall Friday episode, because it's about how we approach these things. So let me set the scene. We set up a form on our site. The form builder that we use, or the form that we use that's been coded into our site, will send off an email notification to us saying, hey, so-and-so filled in your form, here's their details. That form, that email notification relies on so many things going exactly right. All it'll take is one thing to go wrong. I say this a lot, right? We've got to get everything right, and all it takes is for one thing to go wrong. I say that in terms of hacking a lot, being secure. In this case, it's like we've got to rely on everything in the email chain working, because all it'll take is one thing to not work and we don't get the email. So in the case of an email form, we've got to make sure that our web server can actually send email on our behalf, or that we've set up the right type of plugin and authentication for the web server so that it can send email on behalf of our domain, or on behalf of the site. We rely on it not getting caught in any of the spam traps that goes through the internet, remembering that email goes through a number of jumps. Normally it's not a problem. Sometimes something will trap it somewhere for various reasons. Doesn't happen so often today, but it still happens. We then rely on the network that receives it, the mail provider that receives it, not trapping it in a spam filter right at the top of the network and it never ever reaching our inbox. It just gets caught right at the top of the network and says, no, we're not even going to deliver it. Yes, some providers do that. Then we rely on it actually getting into our inbox and not getting caught by our own spam filters and going into the spam box on our inbox, the spam folder on our inbox. We rely on us seeing that email come in and actually being able to action it in a timely fashion. And we rely on the fact that we haven't accidentally set up a mail filter that catches those emails and deletes them or archives them, and we have to go hunting for them. And remember that we've got to go hunting for them. So as you can see, there's a number of things in that chain that can go wrong, as has happened in a couple of instances for me recently and over the last couple of months. One is that it says it sent it. I can trace it all the way through the system. I can see where it's handed it off, where the mail providers and the mail systems have handed it off to the destination mailbox, but the recipient says they never got it. It's not there. It's just not there. And we can't find it. We can't find whether it was delivered. We don't always have access to all of the admin tools that lets us go and do the forensics through to say, this mail ID, where did it go? What happened to it? We just can't find it. Okay, so that's one instance, and I'll come back to that one in just a moment. The other one was that we set up a set of RSVPs for something a couple of months ago, and it was being sent to a specific person's inbox, and they say they've never received them. They haven't received one. In that second case, we didn't save them into a database. We just used a plugin that was just emailed them out. Now, when I say we, that was what was in place. I just made sure that that was working. I know it was working. I checked it to other inboxes on that system. The person who was supposed to get them is saying they haven't got them. Now, whether that's something with their system, maybe they've got a filter on it, maybe something is set up, maybe they've changed their spam level on it, their spam filtering level on it, and it's catching more than it should do. I can't tell. I don't have access to their inbox. But what that means is that they don't have those RSVPs and we don't have a record of them. In the first case I explained where I could trace it all the way through the system, that's because I've set it up so that we can trace it all the way through the system. And I also save those entries into the database. So when the form gets filled in, it gets saved into the database. So when I get the phone call saying someone just rang me and said they sent me an email from the website and I didn't get it, I can go in and say, well, it's here. I can see it coming through and I can resend it. Now, sometimes it just fails because the handoff has happened and the mail server doesn't deliver it. Maybe the mail server glitched. It happens once every blue moon, maybe every couple of blue moons, but it does happen. But the fact is that I had backups for her. For her, so it was a her. I had something that we could go back to and say, yep, there they are. We can do this. Here's a copy of it. And I resent it and she got it. So, it's really hard to tell why it's failed at that point, except that, we've done everything we needed to do and I had a copy. So that's the mindset shift that I actually wanted people to think about. I would like you as business owners to think about. We often just think of our contact forms as, we'll just get them to fill in the form and we'll get the email. What happens if you don't? What happens if something fails? What happens if the mail servers decide to glitch on the way through and you don't get a copy of that email? What's the impact of that on you? And is it worthwhile going to the next level of saying, I'm going to use a system that will save these off into the database? Now, the difference there is most of those plugins, if you're using free contact form plugins, to save them to the database requires an upgrade. Is that worth it to you? Let me assure you that it has certainly been worth it to me. A couple of reasons why. First of all, your reputation doesn't take a hit for being non-contactable, for ignoring contacts, for just not responding. You don't take that reputation hit. You can set yourself up to do a regular check on the database or on your website and go in and say, okay, what contact forms have been submitted this week? Get your VA to do it. With AI, I'm sure we can write AI functions to say, here's a list of all the contact forms you've received this week. I can't find them in your inbox. Agentic and all that stuff should be able to do those sorts of things, right? You can check it. You've got that double check. If you know that you've seen something come through your inbox, as often happens to me, my inbox is very full, gets very busy, and sometimes I will see the subject line come through and I go, I've got to go back and get it, and then I go looking for it. Try as I might, I can't find it. Now that's because I don't know what I'm looking for exactly. I just know I saw it come in and I've got so much email, the filters and I'm not filtering for the right thing. That's on me. That's not on the system that I use. That's on me. But then I know that I can also go back to my website, pull up the list of submitted forms and go, there it is. That's it. That's what I need to handle with it. That's what I need to do. So there's the, are you unresponsive? What's the reputation hit? There's being able to find things that have come through and you just can't find in your inbox. The third part to that is your legal. The legal aspects around someone says, I sent you an email and you haven't responded, and you can say, yeah, I got that email. You can go back and check and say, yes, I got that email, or see what they actually said in the email, particularly if you've deleted it from your inbox. You've still got a copy of it on your web server and you can go back to their exact text and say, well, actually, the question you asked was X, Y, and Z, whatever that is. You've now got some form of proof to go back to if you need it. I could probably bang on a bit more about all the benefits of saving things off into your database, but I'm sure you get the picture. This is the mindset about, do I care? If I care, is it worthwhile going that next step? And do I need to put processes around making sure that I check that on a regular basis? The other part of that mindset is understanding your responsibilities once you start storing that type of data. I would be very, very remiss if I didn't address that in this episode, because that's important and that's part of our mindset. When you start storing personal information, you actually start to run up against some of the privacy laws and some of the privacy restrictions that we need to consider. And here's some things that I'd like you to think about. First of all, making sure that our database is protected to a level that if someone gets in, they have a very hard time getting into the entries for your contact form and finding out who's been sending you email, because you'll normally capture things like first name, last name, email address, and a message. They should be the minimum things you're capturing. Sometimes you might capture their address. You might capture some personal information. You might ask some questions about what it is they're looking for, where they're at in their life, especially if you're using it to do coaching or trying to customize packages and stuff. You might be starting to capture more information about them. You might capture, I think I said phone number just then. You might capture their date of birth. All of those sorts of issues, right? They are going to attract a certain amount of protection under the Privacy Act. So your database has got to be protected. Then you've got this information. Can you de-identify it enough so that if someone does actually get into the database and get that information, they can't really identify the individual that it's associated with? That's another level of thing that you need to consider. Not everyone needs to do that, okay? Not everyone, but sometimes you might need to think about it, particularly if you're going down that path of, how much information are you capturing? How much data can you capture on them to make them identifiable out in the real world? The other thing you need to consider is if someone comes back to you and says, what information are you holding on me? I want you to delete it. Or what information are you holding on me? You need to be able to tell them. That is actually something we need to be able to do, is be able to tell them what data we're holding on them. And when they say, I want you to delete all that data, we've got to be able to delete it, okay? Most plugins will let you delete entries and scrub the database of that information, but you do need to consider that. And the final one is, how long do you retain that data for? And do you keep it on the do you keep it on the website database, or do you export it and store it somewhere else? Why do you need to worry about that? Well, most of us might only collect data that we need to keep for a month or so, and we can delete it. It's not important. Some people have a statutory or a legislative requirement to hold data for 10 years or 7 years or 5 years or 6 months or whatever it is. And they need to be able to store that data easily. Yeah, well, they need to be able to store that data and they need to be able to store it easily. Should it be kept on the website for that amount of time, or can they export it and save it somewhere else? That's also a good way of doing it. What are your requirements? How do you want to handle it? Another mindset thing to think about. That's that shift in mindset about, I can do this, but there's other ways I can achieve it. And the last thing that I really should mention is, I started mentioning it and then I skipped it. How much data are you collecting on them? Are you collecting more than you need? So if you've got a contact form and you're asking for their first name, last name, email address, and phone number, are you ever going to call them? Do you really need the phone number? Because if you don't collect it. And the reason I'm saying that is not just because, it's just more data that when you get hacked. Watched a few episodes ago, I talk about this a lot. When you get hacked, if you get hacked and that data gets out there, that's more data that can be used, that can be sold for them. And if you don't need it, if you're not going to use it, don't collect it. If you need to get it later, collect it later. Alrighty, so they're the things that I want you to think about, and that's the mindset shift that I want you to take. Is that, sure, put a form up on your site. I think you should be using forms as contacts because your email's not getting out there. It's not getting scraped by spammers and then onto mailing lists that you just don't want to know about. You can use the form to obfuscate your own email address, but don't just rely on the email notifications getting through to you. There's too many things in that chain that can go wrong. Store it in your database. Go to the next level, store it in your database. Then Well, and while you're doing that, consider all of your privacy requirements, all of the privacy implications, and work out how you're going to manage it. What do you guys think? Is that overkill? Does it sound reasonable to you? Had you thought about all of those privacy things as well? I would love to know. So please leave comments wherever you're watching or listening to this episode. If it was useful to you, please give it a like and share it with a friend. And if you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell. If you need help with any of this, if you need someone to come in and audit what you're currently doing or make suggestions on how you can improve it or anything along those lines, that's what I do. I'm a tech wrangler. I can work at many different levels, got quite a broad knowledge base and a reasonably deep knowledge base in a lot of subjects. So please reach out to me. You can book a free breakthrough session at askcharlylatham.com, and in the top right hand corner, click the bright pink button that says book a breakthrough session. It's one per person, one per customer. So if you've already had your session and you'd still like to continue working with me, reach out and we can make that, we can work out how that looks for both of us in a way that makes us both successful, because your success is my success. All right, guys, that's it for this episode. I will see you on Wednesday for Walkthrough Wednesday. In the meantime, be safe, be secure, and make sure your contact form information gets through. Bye.
Hey there, thanks so much for tuning in to Rise and Shine, your daily business tech boost. I hope today's episode gave you some actionable insights that will make your business tech work smarter for you. If you found value, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with other small business owners who could use a daily boost. For more tips, tools, and resources, visit www.askcharlylatham.com. Until next time, keep rising, keep shining, and let's make tech simple together.